Everyone wants more money, but most of us weren't taught how to create an abundant life. That's where the More Money Show comes in. If you're ready to have more money, create more freedom, and experience more fun, turn the volume up. It's time to learn how to create the prosperity and life you have been dreaming of. Here's your host, Cassie Park.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of More Money, which, as you can tell, will be full of laughter because Carrie-Ann is back. Already losing it because we are talking about her first interview, which is one I got a lot of people love that interview because it was called like, "Where's My Pizza?" because that was the thing, right? Is like when you first went through Manifest 10K, and I'll back up. So Carrie-Ann has worked with me for in the 13 to 14 month range. She started with the 5-day Change Your Money Story Challenge. And then she joined the Manifest 10K with support, which is really the bridge to the Enchanted Circle. Like that was the first time I offered that. And then I decided to do the Enchanted Circle. And then she's been in the Enchanted Circle since that program ended, which is awesome. And so welcome, Carrie-Ann. Let me welcome you first since you stopped laughing.
I know. Sorry, I caught my breath. Hello, Cassie. Nice to be here.
So excited to talk to you about this because it's awesome. So this is Carrie-Ann. I really want to celebrate this. Like this is a they're all celebration interviews, right? But really there's beginnings and there's middles and there's endings of chapters of our life, right? And this is it's not the end of you and I being connected, but it's the end of our coaching relationship. And in 13, 14 months, we're going to try and, paint the picture of everything like that's changed and how you've gotten, to where you've gotten to in this very beautiful space where you showed up to grow. What would you say is the biggest way you had to show up to grow in this space?
Oh my goodness. I had to get out of my own way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was throwing up so many blocks and was so resistant to the things that we were talking about and wanting to dig. Like I would dig, but only like just a little bit to say that I started the process, but I wouldn't go deeper. I was so resistant to go deeper. I really was. And then when we finally hit that vein, like that was it. It just uncorked so much and just really opened space for me to really dig in and get rid of those limiting beliefs and really start living the life I wanted to live.
Yes. Yeah. So what would you, so many things because I want to make sure we cover them all. I'm like, where would we start? I want to ask this first though, because that kind of reminds me. So you did Manifest 10K twice with
yes.
coaching with support, right? And I think it speaks to what you just said, right? Sort of that first time you did the work, you dug in, you showed up, but you didn't quite go deep enough, right? Or you went as deep as you could the first time. Like you did the work to the level you could do it at that moment, right?
Yes.
Like I want to honor that because I don't think it's like you sat there and were like, I'm not going to do the work. Like,
that's right.
That's not what happened.
Yeah, whatever. I'll just write this down and not really do, the actual thinking and reflection that's involved, right?
Yes. Yeah. And then so what was the biggest shift going into that second time?
Well, aside from not wanting to do it, because I knew there was a lot of stuff there that going through a second time, I would have to take, a different look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like, I did the 90 days. Yay, I did it. Okay, what? You want me to do it again? Okay, but I just did it. I dug stuff up. No, you want me to dig more stuff up? So I think that was sort of the fear and the resistance is like, okay, I don't want to keep digging this stuff up. Like, at what point do I start manifesting money?
Yes.
But, hindsight now is the best thing I could have done. And I hear you often recommending it to other people to take it a second time because it's a different perspective. You're different. You come into Manifest 10K one way, you leave it another. When you do it the second time, it's the same thing. You're not the same person you were when you first did it.
Right.
So you've already gone through that first layer. Now you're going to go deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to get to the juicy bits that need to see the light of day.
Yes.
so that you can be in the right space and time to manifest what it is you want.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
love that, because that's why I always say, right? So many people want to go wider. So it's easier to go start another program than to do a program and go deeper into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Deeper is scary.
Yeah. Talk about that.
Deeper is very scary because you sort of live your whole life with you learning how to cope. You've developed these coping mechanisms on how to deal with situations that come up in your life. And to have to learn a different way of coping, having to learn to look at, the contributing factors, the beliefs behind it, and some old story, some history. It's really scary because it's ugly. It's it's not like it's this big terrifying thing, but there's some bits that really are, they're really deep hurts, or hard lessons that you learned and you think they're hard and fast, but they're really not. So that pulls the rug out from under you. You're like, all these years I've believed this, I've thought this, now you're telling me I can just think something else. Like, it just turns your whole world upside down. But that's a good thing. It's a good thing, because when you start seeing how, okay, if I thought a certain way for 20 years and I got the results that those thoughts were creating, if I think something different, something, more positive and lighthearted and happy, that could happen too. Like, I could get, I could create positive things for myself. Like, it's just so mind-blowing. So there is that small period of time where it's very scary. There's a lot of fear there. So you have to work through that. You have to push through it to get to the other side and see that, oh, okay, I get it. Just this. That's just, and it's a slow start. It's not like a, rock falls on your head and you wake up and now you're, oh, I think all this good stuff. It's a slow process, and you learn stuff and it sticks, and you see examples of it. You see evidence, you listen to other people's stories, and you're like, oh, okay, I get it. This is so cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. Very cool. What was that initial reason you joined Manifest 10K after the Change Your Money Story Challenge?
Because I'd learned so much in the 5-day challenge, like learning what my story was, learning to not feed the old story, learning to acknowledge and identify, like, all those things were so huge, because as we're participating and you're sharing this information with us, you're like, oh my God, I had no idea. Like, I absolutely had no clue that this is how I thought. This is how I lived my life. This is how I made decisions based on this. And to know that there was another way to be, and that I could actually achieve the things I wanted to achieve. I'm like, oh man, I need more of this. I have to have more of this, because it was just so incredibly eye-opening and inspiring and exciting. So yeah, for sure, it was like, okay, let's do this. And then when I got into it, I'm like, oh, what have I done? what?
Right. Which I think you might have thought that the first one-on-one we did the assignment together, right?
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there and we're making your joy list, right? And it was like, you're like, what do you mean I need 10 things? I can't come up with 10 things. Like, what are you talking about?
Oh my God, I forgot about that. That so sounds like me. 10? What do you mean? I can come up with 5.
Right. Yeah. You're like, that's enough. That's all I need.
And you're like, no, I need 10.
I need 10. How can we get 10? How can we explore this?
Oh my gosh. But that's the thing. I just really had no idea. Like, I couldn't expand past that. I just really couldn't. I couldn't think of anything. I couldn't feel anything past however many I initially come up with. And you were pushing me to do more. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know. Like, Just throw something in there,
Right?
but what you did is, so we further explored, like, what were some of the things that, that did bring me joy? What were the things that made me happy, or things I did as a child, or stuff? Like, you really just had to think, because I wasn't in touch with that part. Like, that's the
Mhm.
other thing. Like, you just don't realize how disconnected you can be, or that I had to become
Yeah.
from my life and the things that brought me joy, because that wasn't the theme of my life was, oh, I'm happy. No, it was like, I go to work, I pay my bills, I'm very moderate. We don't do crazy things. I didn't realize that, that's how deep I was in, and that it really affected my happiness. So when you're asking me to create a joy list, I'm like, I don't know, what gives me joy? I don't know, getting a bonus at work. Like, it was really just, I couldn't relate it to things, just doing things like reading for 15 minutes. Like,
Mhm.
what? Anyway, it was just,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. I love that you say disconnected, because that's what it
yeah,
was.
yeah,
And so your old money story was survival, right? And you
absolutely.
see how that, will you talk a little bit, because I think you get it and you can see it, that disconnection from joy and all of that, how that was creating survival, and vice versa, how that survival was creating like this lack of joy.
Yes. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, no, yeah, 100%. Because, when you're in that frame of mind and in that space of, we gotta, oh, well, we can't do that because we don't have enough money. Okay, well, but I want to do that.
Right.
Like, I want to do that happy thing, but we can't because we don't have money. So as soon as, I see the joy, then it's gone. Like, I take it away. So that survival mode it really killed the joy in my life, killed the
Mhm.
happiness in my life. And it really made, so when we did get to do things, it made them ridiculously happy. Like, they were like neurotically happy. Like, oh my God, we get to do this. And then you pass out because you're like, oh my God, I can't believe we're going to do this. And then when you do it and it's over, you're like, oh, it's over. And then,
Yeah.
like, when are we going to do this again? Like, I just never saw that cycle. Whereas now it's completely different.
Yeah.
It's everything we do is to create that joy and to create that happiness. So, doing the I know, right? Like,
Yeah.
I can't even believe I'm saying this.
Yeah.
I really can't, because who I was, 14 months ago is not the same person at all.
Yeah. Right. At
Yeah.
all.
No,
Yeah.
no, not the
Wh-
same person.
What would you say is the big, I mean, I love, like, everything we do is to create joy. Like, that makes
Yeah.
me so happy. Like, I'm just like,
I
yes,
know.
because that's why I do what we do.
Yeah.
Like, I say that
Yeah.
about our money stories. Like, if you invest in your happiness, like, the money, the number matters, but it matters a lot less when you're making those choices to invest in your happiness versus sort of that, like you said, like, oh, this moment has to be everything because we're
Yes.
spending money on it and it has to make us so happy, and then we're so let down, right?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
a crash. Like, you literally crash. Like, it's come to an end.
Hmm.
And that's how it feels. It feels like, oh, it's an end. So, we're not going to have that again, or it's going to be a while before we can have it again. And the other thing is that, I'm able to find joy in little things. Like,
Yeah.
just like, I made fresh salsa on the weekend. Oh my God, it was so good. Like, it was so good.
Yes.
Like, it was so delicious, and I tasted every bit of cilantro that was in there, the garlic, the red onion, the fresh tomatoes. Like, it was so good, and I was happy to eat it. Like,
Yes.
and even making it, it was, we were chopping and chopping, and I got, jalapeno juice under my nails. It burned for 3 days. Thank you very much. But it was fun because it was a constant reminder that I made this wonderful salsa. So,
Yes.
like, it was just these little things now that bring such joy. It doesn't have to be the big thing. It doesn't have to be like, oh, we're going to wherever for a week, where it's such a big thing. Like,
Yeah.
now it's just now, it's little things, and they make me so happy. Like,
I love it.
it's,
Well, and speaking of the
yeah.
weekends, your weekends are really, like, I see now, like, when you explain, like, oh, it's like we had to do this one thing that made us happy and it was over. Like, your weekends, I feel like, used to be just like this one breakfast is what made you happy and that was it, right?
Yes.
But now your weekends are filled with trying like stand-up paddleboarding
Yeah.
and going on ghost tours. Like they're really
Yeah.
filled with all these things that make you happy and are fun to do.
Exactly. And um, they're 100% things that I'm interested in doing, and they're things that sort of, push me outside of what I would normally do. Like, it's
Yes.
not just comfort zone. Like the stand-up paddle it's not even in my comfort zone. It was never on my radar, ever,
Yes.
ever, ever. So when it came up, I'm like, I got this big whoosh of like, oh my God, this adrenaline. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And it was just so much fun. Like I didn't, so the story here is I never actually got to do it because my class was canceled twice.
Right.
And I was so gung-ho both times. I had my bags packed, I was dressed up, and we got the phone call. Sorry, it's canceled. But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because I was so in the moment and I was watching videos about it. And even the last day it was canceled, my husband and I went to that park. We went to that
Yeah.
conservation area and we walked the trails. We saw where I would have been training. We saw that they rent the paddle boards. Like it was still, the experience was still complete, even though I didn't actually do it. So these are other ways that, when these opportunities present themselves, I still get great joy from it, even if I didn't do what, I had set out to do.
Yes.
Right? Like
Yes. And I
I hope
love
I'm
that.
expressing that properly.
Yes.
It was the moment of booking it and picking the date and, putting on Facebook to let everybody know that I was doing it, because that was a
Mhm.
big deal. You know, I had to buy the sunglasses strap, find my hat, like all that stuff was so much fun doing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you've learned to put that joy is every day instead of like dependent on that one moment, right? You're not waiting for the stand-up paddleboard lesson to feel joy. You're
Yeah.
feeling joy in the process.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so
Yeah.
awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember that led to you this sort of thing. There's a story about how you ended up at a park and then you were like, oh, it's only like, I don't remember if it's 50 or $100.
Yeah, it was $62 for a year membership to go to these 7 conservation areas that we have here.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's amazing because it's like, I think it was like one park was like, I think 12 or $13 per adult. So
Uh-huh.
that's $26 for the two of us for one day.
Right.
So like when you think about it, a couple more visits and there's the year pass.
Yes.
So for the whole year, so we can go snowshoeing. Some of them have cross country skiing. Some of them have the horse and carriage rides in the
Uh,
fall. Like,
oh my gosh. Right.
right? Like that's what I'm saying. Like it was
Yeah.
a total no brainer. Where in the past, I had looked at that before and was like, oh, I don't know, how many times are we going to go? I have to drive there. Like, oh my God. Like, okay, shut up. Like,
Right.
okay, no fun girl, you go back in the closet because now we're gonna have fun, we're gonna do things
Yes.
that are fun.
Ugh. What
Yeah.
difference has that made in your life that you're now like the fun girl? Like you do
Yeah,
things that are fun.
and what's interesting is that now that I'm so fun, I don't know, I was struggling for a word there. I'm like, no, fun's the word.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, all these things come into my experience. So, you
Right.
know, on Facebook, it was the ghost walks. Like I've been following this ghost walk page for years and years. And I went like, oh my God, 10, 15 years ago when it first opened. So it's not like I was not aware of these things, but all of a sudden I just started noticing them on Facebook. I'm like, oh, check this out, and then something else. Oh, check this out, and it just kept coming and coming and coming. And I'm like saying it to my husband, like, hey, do you want to go? Yeah, sure. And then, the goat sanctuary that we went to, like, oh my God,
Oh,
that came into my frame. And I'm like, oh my God, I so want to go there. And we went and it was so much fun. Like it was just, so all these things keep coming up because I'm calling it in. I'm
Yes.
creating it because I want to have fun. I want to be happy. I want to be joyful. And I want to also support, members of my community that are doing things that I believe in. And going to that goat sanctuary was one. Volunteering for the Humane Society is another one. Like, we did so many things for them. I came this close, oh my God, Cassie, 2 weekends ago from getting a kitten. Oh my God.
Oh.
And of course, the president of the Humane Society, she's like, well, which one are you interested in? So we show her, I can't remember her name now, the little kitten. It's probably a good thing. So the adoption fee was $380. She's like, I'll get you, you can have her for $300. I'm like, oh my God, you're killing me.
Right?
But so then this is a good example too, because yes, we were like, oh, let's do it. It'll be so much fun. Our cats will love it. And it felt really good to think that.
Yes.
But you also have to be responsible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Like, it's not just all about, oh, it's yay, everything that makes me happy I do, yay. No, because having an extra kitten here, means extra expense, and that's okay, but it's just
Right.
facts. Extra expense, more litter boxes, more food. We got to, are they all going to get along?
Right.
In the end, we decided, you know what, it's not for us right now.
Yes.
Right? And that's
Uh-huh.
okay. But still
Yes.
going through the process and saying, yay, we want that, but oh, okay, wait a minute. Let's just sit in these feelings right now, because I also don't want to be impulsive and make a decision that isn't going to support the happiness of my home, right?
Right. I think
Yeah.
that's such a big deal, right? Because you're not
Yeah.
chasing joy, you always have joy.
Yeah.
You don't have to make those impulsive decisions, and you can sit back and go, what's the long-term joy return versus
Yeah.
the in the moment joy return, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's okay.
Yes, it's
That's totally
amazing.
okay. Yeah,
I
it's
mean, it's
totally
what
okay.
creates,
Yeah.
right? It's what keeps joy evolving,
Yeah.
because that's a real thing. Like, if it was going to diminish joy over time, it wasn't fully joyful. I mean, when I hear that story, I totally compare it to when I used to go in off the clearance rack and blow $200 on clothes that I maybe wore one thing out of the 20 things I bought, right?
Yeah.
It was in the moment, it felt really good to like fill the bag, but
Yeah.
there wasn't joy afterwards. And so I think that's huge.
Yeah, for sure.
That's amazing. I love
Yeah,
it.
but we did buy a lot of baking, so because it was
Awesome.
a bake sale, so we walked away with a lot of goodies.
I love that, which is your future self, right? That's straight out of your
Yes.
script.
Yeah.
A local something, right? Local
Yep.
food, local baked good. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Um
Yeah.
yeah, so let's talk about, well, let me ask this first. What would you title your story now?
Oh, it's easy.
Ugh, I love that so
It's
much.
easy.
Mhm.
It's not just everything is easier. My
Mhm.
life is easier. Being happy is easier. Being out in the world is easier. And, definitely things that I know in the past, would have kept me down for whatever amount of time. Now it's like, okay, something that I really am utilizing right now, and definitely in the last 3 weeks, is something Michelle Reynolds said, is it's
Mhm.
just information.
Mhm. Yeah, it's just
It's
information.
just information. And so I practiced that really hard earlier this week, because I had to replace the muffler on my car.
Uh-huh.
And the amount they gave me just blew my mind.
Right.
I even sat on the phone. I'm like, holy, this is expensive. She's like, yes, but it's parts and labor. I'm like, oh my God. And then I sort of stopped and like, okay, it's just information.
Right.
It's just information. So um, she was going to talk to the warranty administrator to see if any of those parts were covered under my extended warranty.
Mhm.
She called me back and she said, it's not covered. She says, but we relooked at the price, and now and she quoted me something, it was $123 less.
Awesome.
So I'm like, thank you very much. I said, that is great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Go ahead and do the work.
That's awesome.
So, I still have moments of like, and then it's like, okay, well, hang on a second. Let's just, it's just information. So I thank Michelle tremendously for that, because it really what it does? It gives me a pause.
Yeah.
It gives me that time to pause to say, okay, this is what you heard,
Mhm.
and let's just sit with it
Yeah.
and and give it a second. I mean, at the end of the day, I have to get it replaced. There's no doubt. Now, do I want to go all over the place and check out, see if I can get it, a different
Yeah.
investment? I could do it,
Right.
absolutely. But no, I got the information, I let it sit, and I got the call back. Is cheaper. All right, I'm good with that. I felt good with it.
Yeah.
I'm
I
like,
love it.
yeah, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
The shuttle driver I had was very lovely, so the whole experience was really fantastic. It's just that one moment of like, oh, okay,
Yes.
yeah. So it's practicing a lot of those new skills, right?
Yep. I love it.
Yeah, yeah,
So fun. I always
yeah.
say when you change your money story, your whole life changes. And I think you're just presenting such a good example of that, right? Because when you were in survival mode, every single thing was survival. Like we talked about a little
Mm,
bit ago, there was no room for joy because it was like being, or if
no,
there was, it was just this one moment that you felt like you had to
yeah,
like catch everything,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And now it's easy. Like you've changed that story and it bleeds. There's a ripple effect into every part of your life.
yeah. No, for sure. Because it's not just about the money.
Yeah.
Like working with you is not just about getting the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. There's so much more to it. Your life will change 100%. And, you know, doing the work sometimes isn't fun.
How did you know that was going to be my next question? I was going to say, like, let's talk about some of the breakthroughs now that seemed really real, right?
Oh
Like,
my God.
right? Yeah.
I can't even believe it, because when we were talking just before we got on the call and just sort of remembering all these things, like, when I talk about the IKEA catalog
You're
and
going to tell the whole story, right? Yeah.
God, it was to make my vision board. I can't
Yeah.
remember what day it was, but it was to make my vision board. And I wanted all this lovely furniture
Yes.
in my condo. I wanted to redecorate the living room and my bedroom, get
Mhm.
wardrobes and all that stuff. And I wanted it from IKEA because I really love the look. So you're like, okay, well, just cut up the catalog. I'm like, I can't cut up the catalog. It's the only catalog I have. And you're like, well, can't you go get another? I'm like, it's like 40 minutes away. I'm like, are you for real right now? Cut up my IKEA catalog? Are you insane? And just saying it now is like, I really just had no idea how much my sense of worth was really contributing, and
Mhm.
probably the source of my limiting beliefs, because it was a catalog, for Pete's sake.
Right.
And I didn't want to cut it to put
She-
it on my vision board to help me get it.
to help you get that's the thing. It was like, no, I'm not gonna cut it up to like I wasn't saying cut it out and throw it away. It was like cut
No,
it up and put it on your vision board
right.
so we can bring it into your life quicker. Nope, nope,
Nope,
no. Why would I cut up my catalog?
can't do it.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, can't I print it off the internet? And you're like, no, you have to be involved in it. You have to be hands on. It's got to be something that you're putting your energy into. Just printing something off the internet doesn't make that connection.
I love that we can
Oh,
laugh about it
oh,
now because if you're listening,
yeah.
this wasn't a 5-minute conversation. This was like,
No,
I think 30 minutes of
yeah,
okay, but can we cut it? No, I can't
yeah,
cut it. Like, and at the end, you didn't cut it up for
yeah,
months.
yeah,
You didn't do the assignment, right?
yeah.
You,
No, it was one of the last things I ended up doing.
yeah. And then
Yeah,
one day it was like, which is I love this because
yeah,
it's so these are the crazy I mean, I can relate because I definitely do these types of things, right? It's like the crazy thing you're gonna hold on to, like the IKEA catalog, right? It wasn't about the IKEA
I know.
catalog,
You can't even keep a straight face and
right?
say it. You can't even
I
do it.
can't. It was about like really stepping in and saying I'm worthy of this. I'm worthy enough to ask for this. I'm
Yeah,
worthy enough to believe I might get it by putting it on my vision board, right?
yeah,
It was even just that by putting on the vision board is saying I might get it, right?
yeah,
And that was even I'm not worthy of that, right?
yeah,
Yeah. And so it was a big, and you didn't do it for a while. And then I remember one day on a call, you were like, oh yeah. And then I did my vision board and I cut up that catalog, and it was so nonchalant. It was like, I was like, wait a minute. Did you just say you cut up the catalog and you finished your vision board?
Sure did. Like, I don't even know what to say right now, because it's as absurd as it sounds, it was real.
It was real. It was
so
real and raw.
real and raw. I mean, I cried and cried. There was so much hurt and pain being released on that call. And it was just like, it took me a good couple of days to recover from that, because so much had been uncovered. Like, we really pulled the cork off that bottle.
Yeah.
And once the cork's out, once you let the genie out, it's not going back in. So it came out like it really, it brought me to my knees. And it was probably one of my more important breakthroughs that I had, because doing that opened up the space for me to continue to grow and to continue to, really own what I was trying to do in that moment, which was to become the person who has the life she wants. And I couldn't do that with all that other stuff inside, so I had to get it out. And once I did that, it just snowballed.
Yes, it did.
I had breakthroughs. Some of them were like months and months, and you almost fired me as a client because I wasn't I wasn't cooperating.
I did.
I know, she totally did. Well, I'm not going to be able to keep taking your money if you're not going to do the work. Oh, okay. And I went to my husband. I'm like, Cassie almost fired me. She said she was going to work with me if I didn't do the work. Like, what the hell, right? Like,
right. Like, why would a coach think you're going to do the work?
Right. But in that moment, it was so real, and it was, the walls were just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And and as you and I have discussed many times, is on the other side of that, it's just so rewarding. There's so much joy coming out of that, and looking behind you and saying, oh, that was really nasty, but man, like, do I ever feel lighter? And I feel happier, and I see how all of this is helping me to, get the life I want, and to, whatever it is you're after, whatever it is in your life that you're wanting, doing this work really helps you get there. It's the path you need to take to get there. Because you can't be the same person and get those things, because you don't have them now. Your thinking is very limiting. So in order to get what you want, because if you don't have what you want now, try something different and you will get what you want.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think we could have uncorked you. So I say this all the time, because a lot of people will go digging and they'll say, okay, well, what's wrong with me if I want to fix something, right? And I always say you have to be moving towards something to get those things to come up.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to hear from you. I don't think we could have uncorked you if we just started like digging for what was wrong. I think you had to be supposed to make a vision board with the IKEA catalog. And that's how we got to the uncorking.
That's right. Yeah.
Because we were moving towards what you wanted, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And it put, it forces you to really look at things, and like really looking at why I didn't want to cut up that IKEA catalog. I mean, it's funny, but at the time it was so having that breakthrough really did just create space for me to welcome that in and say, no, you know what? I really want these things. And so if cutting up a catalog is going to help me get it, then I'm going to cut up the catalog.
Right.
But I couldn't see it then. Right. So it's that change in perspective that doing these things help, because it gets rid of that. It gets rid of that monkey on your back that's there that you don't even know is there. And that's the freaky out thing, is once that's gone, you're in this space where like, okay, well, what do I do with myself? What's my reason for being here? Because that's what I carried this whole time. Now the load's
Right.
gone. What do I do? So that's when
Yeah.
you sit in that space. And that's
Mhm.
when you just, sort of sit in it and feel it and, process. And then, okay, I'm good now. And now the
Yeah.
good stuff starts coming in because you've made room. It's,
Yes.
it's like clearing out your closets, clearing out a
Mhm.
drawer when you got, it feels so good when you do that. It's
Yes.
the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is the same thing.
Yeah.
We've touched on this. I want to talk about, because this was so major. Like, you now know how to feel the feels, how to feel the feelings. So will you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. For so long, I was just, plowing through everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I got bad news, you just, head down, you plow through it. There was never a moment to stop and feel it. It was automatically fight or flight. Something broke or whatever. The car broke down. Okay, well, how am I going to get money? I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to borrow from this. Blah, blah, blah. All this stuff happening so frantic, and not even a moment to feel it and let it be, and then moving on to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you get this huge buildup, but also this huge disconnect, like you're just stuffing it down. And then, sometimes you just lose it for
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason, like, somebody didn't put the dish back in the right place, and that really triggers you because you've got all this stuff that's stuffed in you, and then it's got to give.
Yeah.
It's something will give. You're either unhappy, you're miserable, you snap, you all kinds of behaviors because you're not feeling your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So when we started doing that, when we started identifying what, this is a feeling and you got to feel it. Okay, it was very weird. It was very uncomfortable because
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to feel it. Who wants to feel that?
Right. So does it feel
I,
good?
I don't want to feel this. Ew,
Mhm.
let's put it away. That's always worked for me. No, honey, it hasn't. Trust me. Trust me. Trust me, it hasn't. It was an IKEA catalog,
Right?
really. Yeah, it's not working for you.
Mm.
So feeling the feels, even now, like I pause. I have to take that pause and I have to let it, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
come. Because if I don't let it come, if I don't give it the acknowledgement, it's just going to stay in me.
Yeah.
And it affects your body, it affects the way you think, it affects the people around you, it affects your energy and your vibration, and none of that feels good. And now I know when stuff doesn't feel good, like, right, I'm like, oh my god, this, I don't want this. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, like I'm not days and days and days and weeks and months in this, state. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I enjoy feeling happy, so let's just feel this, let's let it come and go, and then it opens up space. If you just give it a little bit of attention, and then it moves on because it's been heard, it's been acknowledged. Now you've got this lovely space in there. You're like, okay, now I'm going to fill it up with something happy. I'm going to fill it with something fun and juicy, or whatever it is you want to fill it up with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So feeling the feelings is very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you think, how you have learned to feel, maybe the ones that don't feel as good, how is that opened up for you to feel even more joy?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah. So do you think that by learning how to feel the ones that don't feel that good, it's
Yeah.
opened you up to feel even a deeper level of joy?
Yeah, for sure. Feeling happy, and I feel like this is on repeat, but feeling happy is such a wonderful state of being.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't have felt the heaviness of not feeling happy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why the smallest little things can give me such great joy, because I have the space to feel the little things that can make me happy. I don't have to wait for the big things to happen for me to be happy. You know, I can get this lovely pen and say, oh my God, I love this pen. Like it just has, there's room to feel bad,
Mm-hmm.
but there's also so much more room to feel happy.
Yeah.
And I thank my feelings. I thank those feelings of feeling scared, of feeling
Yay.
angry, of feeling, down or feeling disconnected. I thank those feelings because it's allowed me to recognize the things that do make me happy.
Yes.
Right? And there's no strings attached to the happiness. That's the other thing. I can be happy about anything I want. There's no,
Yes.
it doesn't have to be, oh well, somebody gave me something, or I got this big gift for Christmas, or whatever it is. I could be happy with anything I want. I get to decide that. So, it's really been a blessing.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
Um, do you have any? It's just been, I just want to say, such a joy to watch you grow from that person who was scared and in survival mode and could only come up with 5 things that made her joyful to the person who's like,
Yeah.
everything has the ability to make me joyful, right? And there's been money flowed in and money showed up, and we've talked about that in the past. But like you
Yeah.
said, the biggest difference is that when you change your money story, you change your whole life story.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's just been so much fun to watch. I'm
Yeah.
so happy for you. Do you have any final things you want to share or words of wisdom you want to share with listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing that really sticks now is that we are all teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of us that's on this journey, every one of us that's in the Enchanted Circle, every one of us that's in the Change Your Money Story Facebook group, we're all teachers. I was so resistant when you asked me to do podcasts the very
Mm-hmm.
first time because I didn't think my story was that great. What is anyone going to learn from my story? I hadn't manifested anything. Like, why on earth would I talk about what? Like, what am I going to talk about? But as I've been, on this journey, and I met so many wonderful people. Oh my gosh, so blessed to have met all of you in the Enchanted Circle. All of your stories, everything you share with the group, someone is learning something.
Mm-hmm.
No matter where you are in your story, if you're just starting out, you've been there a long time, you're in the middle, it doesn't matter. When you share your story, you are teaching. Someone is learning something from you. So please remember that. Your story is important at every stage of your journey, and sharing it allows other people to learn from you and find that nugget of wisdom that they're like, oh, okay, I get it. Or yeah, you know what, I felt that same way, so thank you for sharing. And people who share and who are vulnerable in front of a group of strangers, that takes great courage. That takes so much faith and trust in the people who are around you. So I just want to recognize everybody that has done that. And I want to acknowledge your courage, and I want to acknowledge your faith and your trust in us, because I certainly know it's not an easy place to be so raw and vulnerable in front of people and breaking down. And, you're like, oh my God, what's happening to me? But you feel the love and you feel the support. And on the other side, people are cheering you on. So I think it's just been so beautiful to see the transformations and to see the changes, and to say, even for myself, oh, I've been there. I
Mm-hmm.
recognize that because I've been there, and I didn't think I would get past there.
Yes. Isn't that
It
you
is.
feel for the other person, but you're like, it makes you see how far you've come, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and it allows me to celebrate that, because like when you asked me to, when you were talking about doing this interview, I'm like, oh my God, you have to remind me of all the things that I've done, because I forget. We
Yeah.
do, like, I have forgotten because I'm not there anymore. I'm not in that space
Mm-hmm.
anymore. And I swore to God I would never forget any of it. I remember bits and pieces, but I don't it's not raw for me anymore.
Yes.
Right? I've learned the lessons I needed to learn to move me to this point. So sharing your story is so kind and generous and courageous of you. So please keep doing that, and know that someone else is benefiting from it, and so are you. I benefited hugely by doing these podcasts. Like my first podcast, my God, I must have listened to like maybe 10 or 15 times. I'm like,
Love
oh
it.
yeah, because it's very exciting. It was exciting to know that, somewhere out there, my story was going to resonate with someone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You made me think of one more question that was going to be my
Yeah.
end, and we were going to wrap it up. But
Yeah.
because this was a big deal, like what do you think it did growth wise for you to be vulnerable in front of a group of people? We're all connected and everybody's amazing, but in some level it's still strangers, and that was a big deal for you. So what do you think that opened up, created, helped you do in your life?
Oh, it allowed me to be vulnerable.
Mhm.
I'm the strong one. I'm the one that people come to. I'm the one that figures everything out. So, there was never much. I never allowed myself time to have that breakthrough.
Yeah.
So to do it, and to do it so wholeheartedly, because I really did, like that
Mhm.
first one, that was all the feels in the entire world.
Yeah.
It just came right out. I couldn't stop it. That's the thing. I wanted to, I was trying to
Mhm.
control that, but I couldn't. So
Yeah.
let it go. I
Mhm.
surrendered to it.
Mhm.
And that's such a huge lesson for me as well, is to let it go. And your email, Cassie, oh my God, that you sent,
Mm.
giving us
Yeah.
permission to let go. Oh, so brilliant. So brilliant. Because I think a lot of us do that. I think a lot of us just,
Mhm.
we hold it in. We got to get the stuff done. No time to break down. But you know what? You need to.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because when you break down, you get to rebuild. And
Yeah.
that is the fun part. It's seeing that, okay, so I was here, now I'm here, like, oh my God, look at that. It's just so rewarding, and a great opportunity to celebrate. Because
Yes.
that's the other thing. Do we celebrate enough in the things we do? Even now, sometimes I have to remember, like, oh,
Mhm.
geez, this was big. Like,
Right. This is a
this
big
was a
deal.
big thing. This was a
Yeah.
big deal. I need to celebrate. So celebrate. So being vulnerable really just gave me permission to be vulnerable, period.
Mhm.
At
Yeah.
whatever point in time, wherever I am, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's fine. Like, how many times did I cry in my car? Like, I don't care. I'm on my way to work and I'm wiping my tears away. That's okay.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
It opens up space for more things to come in. And it may not sound logical, but it really is, because you do unburden that. You take that away, and then now you're able to create this space where you
Mhm.
have joy, you have happiness, you have ease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I
Yeah,
love it.
so fun.
Thank you so much for sharing. And I know that last question is going to be important for someone that's going to open someone else's door. So thank you
Good.
for sharing that as well. Thank you for doing these interviews. It wasn't it wasn't easy to get you here. I
No, it wasn't.
kept asking. I just kept ignoring the fact that you were ignoring me. I knew you were ignoring me, but
It
I just
was.
kept ignoring that and just kept asking.
You were relentless, and then you nailed me in one of our calls. Well, I can't, it must have been the Enchanted group. It was
Yeah.
somewhere. I can't remember.
Uh-huh.
You're like, so when do you do my podcast? I can't ignore her now. Oh, I'm having computer problems. Oh, my internet cut out. All right, Cassie, I'll do it. Oh my God. Oh my God. Like, it was just such a big deal. They're so fun though. It really is a lot of fun. And not only that, like, you're documenting your own
Yeah.
progress. Right. So,
Yeah.
I'm going to have this now to listen to and archive and say, oh my goodness, look at how far I've come. And that's awesome. Yay me, like,
Yes.
yeah, you will change your life.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for listening. Make sure if you haven't heard Carrie-Ann's early interviews, go back and listen because you're gonna see how far she's come. It's amazing. I'm gonna go listen because I know it, but it's like, oh, I'm remembering just how far you've come, and it's amazing. So thank you for sharing. Thank you everybody for listening, and make sure to check out next week's episode of More Money.
Thank you for joining us on the More Money Show. To learn the step-by-step process to welcome more money into your life, go to manifest10k.com.